Hi, welcome again to Arthur Brown Photography. You'll remember last month I sold all my Canon, my huge collection of Canon photo gear to MPB, and I was planning to invest in a new system. I mean, I'd ended up, after collecting gear for years with 4 Canon bodies, and that's 2 full frames and 2 APS-C bodies, and I had 17 lenses of different focal lengths from 15mm right up to 400. So I've sold a lot. Well, say the lot. I've actually kept kept the Canon 550D, and it's the lens that came with it, the 18 to 35, I think it is, and then I've also got an 18 to 30 Cassina as well, lens, which I only bought recently. I kept those because it's quite good for snapshotty stuff. All the pro gear though has gone, and I've now invested in Sony camera gear. I got a fairly good price for all my Canon equipment, so I decided to push the boat out, and I've bought a Sony FX3. Now this is primarily a video camera. I say primarily because it does actually still have a mechanical shutter in it, and it's a pretty competent stills camera. It's a fairly low megapixel count, about 12 I think megapixels, so it's not great for huge prints, but it's pretty good for the type of photography I do, which is mainly social media stuff and stuff that's going to be displayed on computers. It's fine, really. I decided to go for the top end, really, because I'd looked at the FX30, but I really wanted something with in-body stabilisation, and after watching many hundreds of hours of YouTube videos, they seem to fit the bill. So I've got the FX3. One thing I'm determined to do this time is to try and keep my my gear to a minimum. So I bought the body only for the FX3. I picked up a probably the smallest, lightest zoom lens you can buy for the full frame Sony system, which is the 28 to 70, and this has got optical steady shot stabilisation in it. This is the kit lens that was sold a lot. The cameras, it's lightweight, plasticky, but I got one second-hand very cheap. So, from my experience with the micro four third system, the lens I tended to use the most, and still use the most on the GH5, is the 9mm Leica lens, and that's the equivalent of around about 18mm in full frame language. So I wanted something of a similar focal length for the full frame system. So I bought a Sony 20mm f1.8, which is quite wide angle, pretty good for vlogging, general video work, and it's got a reasonably wide aperture that'll work in low light as well. So, and then the third lens that I bought is the one that's on here at the moment, and this is really one of Sony's main kind of workhorse lenses. This is the 24 to 105 f4, and this is it has optical stabilisation as well. Now, when I used the Canon full frame system, the 24 to 105 was one of the lenses that I did use most of all, so that's a good general length. I find with video work that long telephoto lenses and long zoom telephotos are a bit of a pain because it's very hard to stabilise them, so hard to stop them wobbling even on the heaviest of tripods. So my view is that probably the 105 millimeters is enough for most general photography and general video work because of the optical stabilisation and the in-body stabilisation of the camera. I can manage that handheld, even zoomed out to 105, and still get a fairly steady picture. You'll probably be aware that the Sony FX3 comes with a sound attachment as well. It's got this top handle with XLR inputs, and I bought this fairly low cost XLR shotgun mic as well to go with it. As I say, this is probably, I'm not quite sure what kind of microphone this is designed to go with, but the microphone holder here is actually quite a small diameter, and it's always too small for any of my Rode professional microphones. But this is a XLR and it's got phantom power. Again, this does make the unit a bit large and bulky, so it's not something you use for everyday filming. But if I'm working on a tripod, this is quite useful to have, and I have done one bit of filming with this, and I must admit the sound quality from this cheap microphone, which I think cost me about £35, is really, really good. I mean, the FX3 is a very complicated beast. It's got a lot of different codecs in it, and since the latest firmware update, it's now doing a full DCI UHD filming as well, which is good because that's one of the codecs I use most in the GH5 is the full cinema 4K, so it means that the two will match up reasonably well now in terms of size, if not colour quality. I'm actually filming this on the GH5 at the moment using the zoom lens, which is the 14 to 45 zoom lens. So. But it's a big learning curve. I fitted this out with a Nitsy cage, a top handle, and I've got one or two small rig bits on it as well, like this side handle. I decided to go for the Nitsy cage in the end, actually, rather than the small rig one, because it's actually in two pieces. Because the FX3 comes with holes in the body itself to take various accessories and to take the top handle. It means you can have a very secure half cage, but the top piece along here is actually separate, and it's actually just a NATO rail which I use to fix the top handle to, and it means I can take this off, just this piece here, and put the Sony XLR handle on without having to remove or alter the cage at all, which is quite handy. This has got plenty of mounting points for things like extra screens and microphones and all sorts. But given this format here with the top handle and the cage, gives me a very lightweight kind of run and gun camera without being too bulky and heavy. I mean, the advantage of this is that you can dress it up or strip it down to meet whatever job you're doing. And if you want to have an extra screen, lights, microphones, everything else, V-mount batteries, you can do it. And I've got all the bits and pieces to build these rigs up now. So I can experiment with that. I'm still learning very much on this, on how to expose it. I haven't actually started to use the S-Log yet, but I'll be having a go at that shortly. So see how that comes out. I mean, also one of the great advantages of a mirrorless camera, and it's something that I've enjoyed with this Panasonic Lumix as well, is the ability to use all sorts of lenses. You can get adapters to fit most lenses, and you've got the chance to use vintage lenses as well. Problem with the Lumix is because of the small sensor size, any lens you put on immediately has a focal length doubling of 2, so it's quite hard to get wide angle lenses in the independent and vintage sectors that are going to fit it. Great for telephotos. The advantage now with the FX3 being full frame, I can get adapters for that now and use so things like old Canon FD lenses and the old Tamron adapter lenses, and you've got no problem with with magnification factors or crop factors. The focal lengths are as they are stated, but it does give the opportunity to be quite versatile and to use some different lenses to get different effects and some nice vintage looks. And once I get used to the workings of the FX3, I shall be trying some of my older vintage lenses out to see and the kind of effects that they produce, and I'll produce some videos to demonstrate that. Anyway, I won't ramble on for too long now. I was just really updating you on what was happening with on the equipment front, and now the weather seems to be picking up. I need to get out there and make some more films and take some more pictures. So goodbye for now. Look out for my next video. Bye from Arthur Brown Photography.